Greetings, namaste, and welcome to Astrology Awakening, a Saturn Retrograde edition. So I am beginning this drop shooting the content during Saturn hour on Saturday, which is Shani's day, Saturn day. And Saturn hour is part of a system in they use in India actually officially for their government to help society function better, and it's called orology. And the idea is that there's about a 60-minute window for each planet to have its sway and say over the realm, and they take turns. So I'll have to bring a colleague of mine on to discuss orology because it's not really my specialty, but man, does it work. It's pretty simple, pragmatic approach that is pretty fire in terms of how effectual and effective it is. So I'll do that on another drop. But for today, we're going to talk about Shani and retrograde, and what does this mean for the individual, and what does this mean for society when Saturn, which is the ruler of systems, of paradigms and engineering, is seen from Saturn. What does this mean when Saturn goes retrograde? Retrogrades are a phenomenally controversial topic everywhere you turn. Even in just general society, people are afraid of the idea of a retrograde. But in everything from classical Jyotish to even modern interpretations, have to agree that there is a tremendous amount of power in retrogrades. And the reason why is if you were born with a retrograde in your chart, you were born with a karma associated with that planet in that house. And what is a karma? Let's just go there for a second. My, humble take on karma is it's this energy or an energetic fuel that comes with the avatar. And we have to spend this fuel throughout the course of our lifetime. So it's neither a bad nor a positive thing when you just say karma. It's just meant to be a reference to energy. It's an energetic residue that follows us from lifetime to lifetime. And there's a whole lot to say about souls and reincarnation and soul groups and how that all works in terms of ancestry. And hopefully I'll go into that a little bit in another drop having to do with the Dogon or something. But Saturn is definitely the moderator of karma because he rules the 10th house, which is the house of career, and it's the house of what you're known for. Ergo, it is your karma. That's how it works. And that's why people are so career obsessed, because in a way, they subconsciously need their karma fulfilled. And the karma is what you are known for in this realm. So Saturn going retrograde, and any planet going retrograde, will do something eccentric. And it's never going to be an absolute one way or the other, but there is a certain amount of role reversal in terms of how they function. The idea being that there's an intensity. The planet actually, the idea is that the planet actually gets closer to the Earth as it goes retrograde. So if you imagine this compression of that planet, and how it affects your chart and the house that it falls in your birth chart. Wherever a planet is transiting will affect society in general, but that planet, that house will also affect your chart depending on how it's oriented. So once again, if you're interested in chart reads or anything like that, hit me up, email, and we'll discuss. Okay, I got a little bit of this noir lighting remaining, but I think it's gone. That's cool. I'm such a sucker for this, so I hope it's not annoying. Anyway, the retrograde and the role reversal idea. So every planet will have that. So let's just talk about Saturn and how it's typically oriented. Saturn is the disciplinarian, the delayer, and the engineer, as I was saying, who's going to build things out over time, not just throw something up overnight. And this is why I think when Saturn has come into Capricorn and Aquarius, And every time it does this, every 30 years or so, Saturn's a very slow-moving planet, the slowest of the inner five, other than Uranus, Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto. So Saturn basically will come into its own houses and really set up shop. And these retrogrades will be a kind of a time period when we can get some perspective a little bit. A good way to understand Saturn specifically is for the past few decades, I've noticed that Saturn's retrograding during the summer months. So Saturn is the disciplinarian, reversing roles during the retrograde. You think about summer vacation, and like summer vacation just is, to me, the epitome of when everything slows down and nothing happens. And even when I was in school, you know, that was just like almost like a major stoppage to socializing or whatever, because you'd go off and do other things, and that's sort of the idea, is it's going to bring a new perspective for these long-term concepts of how you view yourself in terms of society. So you're not going to necessarily see some immediate result like you might with Mercury in retrograde. You might notice a slight flip in the script of the frequency of how you're reacting and responding to things. So Saturn, the disciplinarian, takes off the garb of the strict ruler of your karma, and kind of looks the other way for a few months. And that's the general idea of Saturn specifically. So this could be a good and a bad thing. Now, we want structure, we want discipline, we don't want, you know, society collapsing overnight. So this isn't necessarily going to happen when Saturn goes retrograde, but there will be a certain amount of, let's just say, allowances for crazy shit to pop off. And that's why, especially during this period of people being on high alert for things like everything from pandemics to nuclear war, it's just a good reminder that this is all part of some planetary karma being worked out, and it's going to pass in time, because Saturn isn't going to let nuclear war go off on its watch, unless it's for a very specifically good reason. I'm going to eat these words, I know. So anyhow, the idea though, in general, is what you're going to do is revisit, as you do in every retrograde, through these shadow periods I talked about in Mercury Retrograde video. So that's what I'm going to talk about next, how to achieve the optimal result from how things might go backwards and forwards over the next several months. Got my noir lighting back just in time for the wrap up. So we're going to talk dates and maybe ways to approach things. Saturn goes retrograde on June 5th, and will continue to be in retrograde until October 23rd. So this will cover the degrees in the nakshatra of Dhanishta, but will be in, it will be continuously in Dhanishta, that is to say. And it will go from Aquarius, where it is now, back into Capricorn, where it's been for the past 2.5 years. So it's essentially the climax, if you will, of the last couple of years. We're gonna see a sort of at least the concept of a resolution going forward from the last couple of years over the next 6 to 8 months. So let's talk about shadow periods. Saturn will go backwards from approximately 1 degree in Dhanishta, part of Aquarius, backwards into Capricorn, back to about 24 degrees approximately, and of course Saturn rules both of these houses. The degree of 24 where Saturn will go back to will correspond to an actual date, and this date is February 27th. So what you can look at is events that happen between February 27th and June. These events will be important in terms of long-term effects on your life. So it's a good time to go back over what's happened, especially in terms of delays, restrictions, the government having anything to do with placing restrictions on the public. These things will all be revisited during this period in dynamic new ways, as I said, eccentric ways. It's never going to be simply a black to white polarity shift. Because there's all sorts of other planets in play, of course. So what you're going to get until late January of 2023 is when Saturn will actually catch back up to where it is when it goes retrograde. So this is the idea of the shadow period. So as with every retrograde, you have three movements. The shadow period that you experience without even knowing it, and then the retrograde makes you experience all over again. And then once the planet stops retrograding, it catches back up to where it started in the first place. So in Saturn's case, June 5th essentially becomes January 26th. This is how long it takes for Saturn to get back to where it was when it will start retrograding. So to wrap up, just want to drop something about Jupiter really quick, because Jupiter will also go retrograde later in the summer, so I'll do another video on that. But Saturn and Jupiter's interplay in the last few years has, as I've mentioned in other videos, has played a dramatic effect on society. The last time Saturn and Jupiter were conjunct in these houses was the early 60s. And you can sort of see the paradigm shift in how society functioned between the 50s and 60s. If you just watch the show Mad Men, you can kind of see it. From overnight, we went from this post-World War II kind of automatonic, barely functioning society to throwing off the repression of so many years of apparently being that way. And you have things like Kennedy being killed. Shortly thereafter, you have the moon landings. All these things correspond to great cultural shifts, however you see them as good or bad things, real or fake or otherwise. This is the kind of time that we're living in right now. So heads 360, stay frosty and be safe out there, because you're living in pretty amazing times. Blessings to all. I'll be back soon with some Dogon videos and, of course, Jupiter in retrograde.